I'm staring at my phone on the kitchen counter like it's a live grenade. 3 feet away, David stands perfectly still, his face a mask I can't read. The screen keeps lighting up with notifications, but neither of us moves to check them. When were you planning to tell me about James? My stomach drops through the floor. The wine glass in my hand trembles slightly, red liquid sloshing against the sides. I set it down before I drop it, buying precious seconds to think. I don't know what you're talking about, I say, but the words sound hollow even to me. My heart is hammering so hard I'm sure he can hear it. David's laugh is short and bitter. Really, Sarah? That's what we're going with? He picks up my phone and reads, Miss you already. Last night was incredible. Sent at 2:43 p.m. today. Should I keep going? There's plenty more. The kitchen suddenly feels too bright, too exposed. The granite counter I'd been so proud of when we renovated last year now seems cold and accusatory under the recessed lighting. I wrap my arms around myself, a futile shield against what's coming. You went through my phone? I try to sound indignant, but my voice cracks. It's a pathetic attempt at deflection, and we both know it. You asked me to order dinner while you were in the shower. His voice is terrifyingly calm. The messages with James popped up. I didn't have to look far. I closed my eyes, remembering. Yes, I'd asked him to order from that new Thai place. Such a mundane request, so domestic. How could I have been so careless? David, 6 months, he cuts me off. I checked the message history. 6 months you've been sleeping with him. In our bed, Sarah? Really? The shame hits me like a physical blow, not just for the affair, but for how stupid I'd been. All those deleted messages, all that careful planning, undone because I wanted pad thai and didn't want to wait until after my shower to order it. It's not. I start to say it's not what he thinks, but of course it is. It's exactly what he thinks. The lies die in my throat. The silence stretches between us like a chasm. Outside, a car alarm goes off, the sound muffled through double-paned windows. I remember the day we installed them, David insisting on doing it himself. Always so practical, so dependable, so different from James. I want you to leave. His words are quiet but final. Tonight, go to Elena's, go to a hotel, go to him for all I care. Just go. David, please. We can talk about this. We can fix. Fix what, Sarah? Fix how you've been lying to my face for half a year? Fix how you brought him into our home? He runs a hand through his hair and for the first time I see it shaking. Fix how you're still wearing the bracelet I got you for our anniversary while screwing your coworker. I glanced down at my wrist, at the delicate silver chain he'd given me just 2 months ago. The sight of it makes me sick. I spend the night at Elena's, curled up on her IKEA futon, staring at my phone. David hasn't called or texted. I've typed and deleted a dozen messages, each one more desperate than the last. Elena watches me from her kitchen counter, nursing a glass of wine. You need to give him space, she says, but I can hear the judgment in her voice. She'd warned me about James months ago. My phone buzzes. For a split second, hope flares, but it's James. Don't answer it, Elena warns. I do anyway. Sarah, what's going on? David just emailed HR. My blood runs cold. What? He sent them all our messages, everything. They're launching an investigation. James's voice cracks. Sarah, I could lose my job. We both could. The room spins. I hadn't even thought about work, about the company policies we'd violated, about the fact that I'm James's direct supervisor. David knows exactly what he's doing. He's always been methodical that way. I'll fix it, I say, but I have no idea how. Fix it? It's already done. My wife saw the emails. She's talking about divorce. I didn't even know he was married. The next morning, I drag myself to work, running on 0 sleep and too much coffee. The office feels different, hostile. Conversations stop when I walk by. My assistant won't meet my eyes. My computer won't log in. Account suspended, pending investigation. The screen mocks me. I try calling David again, straight to voicemail. I'm about to leave another message when my phone dings with an email from our joint bank account. New transaction alert. $50,000 transferred to a separate account. Half our savings, gone. My hands shake as I call our bank. I'm sorry, Mrs. Mitchell, but your husband removed you from the joint account this morning. There's nothing we can do. I sit in my office, probably not my office for much longer, and try to breathe. How did everything fall apart so fast? Just 2 days ago, life was perfect, or at least I'd convinced myself it was. A knock on my door. HR. Mrs. Mitchell, we need to discuss some concerning communications. The meeting is brutal. They have everything, not just messages, but emails, hotel receipts, security footage from the parking garage. David had been gathering evidence for weeks, maybe months. Every time I'd told him I was working late, every business dinner with James, documented and time-stamped. By afternoon, I'm suspended without pay. James is nowhere to be seen. Apparently, he called in sick. Coward. I drive home in a daze, only to find the locks changed. A manila envelope waits on the doorstep. Divorce papers, already drawn up. David's always been efficient. Through the window, I can see he's taken down our wedding photos. My phone rings. Elena, Sarah, you need to see this. She sends me a link. It's David's Facebook page, the first post he's made in months. After 8 years of marriage, I'm starting a new chapter. Sometimes the hardest endings lead to the best beginnings. The comments flood in. Supportive messages, heart emojis, his sister calling me unprintable names. I scroll through them all, masochistically, until I see one that stops my heart. A comment from Rebecca, his college ex-girlfriend. You deserve so much better. Coffee soon? He's already liked her comment. That night, I drink too much wine and do exactly what Elena told me not to do. I drive to our house. David's car is in the driveway, but there's another vehicle I don't recognize. A woman's laughter drifts through the open upstairs window. I sit in my car, tears streaming down my face, and finally face the truth. I did this, all of it. My phone buzzes. James again. My wife's lawyer called. She's going after alimony. This is your fault. I want to scream. Yes, it's my fault. It's my fault I believed his lies about being unhappy in his marriage. My fault I risked everything for someone who's now throwing me under the bus to save himself. Another email notification. My mother. She's seen David's Facebook post. Her message is short. How could you? I think about the last 6 months. Every lie, every secret meeting, every time I looked David in the eye and said I was working late. I told myself it wasn't really cheating because James and I had a connection. Because David was too focused on work, too predictable, too safe. Now I realize safe meant loyal, predictable meant trustworthy. I start the car and drive away from the house, from the sound of that woman's laughter. My phone keeps buzzing. James, Elena, my mother, HR scheduling another meeting. I ignore them all and check into a Holiday Inn with a view of the highway. The room smells like industrial cleaner and broken promises. On the nightstand, my phone lights up with a text from David. I've boxed up your things. Elena can pick them up tomorrow. Don't come to the house again. 10 words. Clinical. Final. I order room service I can't afford and open my laptop. 3 new emails from work. IT requesting my laptop back, HR scheduling a disciplinary hearing, and a company-wide memo about recent events and maintaining professional standards. Everyone knows. I check my bank account, my personal one, the only one I have access to now. After the hotel and some food, I'll have enough for maybe 2 weeks. My credit cards are all joint accounts. Already canceled, probably. Another text from James. My lawyer says not to contact you again. I'm sorry. Sorry. Such a small word for such complete devastation. I curl up on the hotel bed, still in my work clothes, and finally let myself cry. Not the pretty, dignified tears I'd shed at Elena's, but ugly, racking sobs that leave mascara stains on the white pillowcase. The worst part isn't losing David, though that pain is physical, like someone's carved out my insides. It's not the job or the money or even the public humiliation. It's that I can't blame anyone but myself. 3 weeks later, I'm living in Elena's spare room and watching my life unravel in real time. The disciplinary hearing was a massacre. They had documentation of every inappropriate interaction between James and me, every abuse of company time and resources. I was terminated with cause. James resigned before they could fire him. David won't answer my calls, but his social media tells its own story. Photos at restaurants I always wanted to try, but he said were too expensive. A new haircut. Weekend hiking trips with friends I didn't know he had. He's thriving without me. I'm in Elena's kitchen, scrolling through his Instagram, torturing myself with his happiness, when she finally snaps. Enough, she says, snatching my phone. We're gonna talk about what really happened. What do you mean? You know what happened. No, I know what you've been telling yourself happened. Poor Sarah. Trapped in a boring marriage, found excitement with James, got caught. But that's not the real story, is it? I stare at her, this woman who's been my best friend since college. I don't. David called me yesterday. The words hit like a slap. What? He wanted to know if you were okay. Can you believe that? After everything you did, he still cared enough to check on you. Something breaks inside me. He asked about me? Don't, Elena says sharply. Don't turn this into hope. He's done with you. He just wanted to make sure you weren't. She pauses. He's a good man. He always was. And you threw him away for what, James? The married guy who ghosted you the second things got tough? I know I messed up. No, you don't. You still think this is some romantic tragedy. It's not. It's just selfish choices having predictable consequences. I open my mouth to argue, but she's not finished. You want to know what else David told me? He knew something was wrong months ago. He tried to fix it. Planned date nights you canceled. Couples therapy you refused to consider. He thought you were depressed, Sarah. He was worried about you while you were sleeping with your subordinate. Each word is a dagger. I remember those date nights, the ones I skipped to meet James. The therapy suggestions I dismissed as David being controlling. The night he caught you, Elena continues, relentless. He was planning a surprise weekend away. That's why he was ordering dinner, so you could pack together. I run to the bathroom and throw up, bile burning my throat. When I come back, Elena's holding out a glass of water and an envelope. What's this? David's lawyer dropped it off. It's a settlement offer. He's giving you the car and enough money to start over. He just wants this done. My hands shake as I read the documents. He's being more than fair, more than I deserve. Why? I whisper. Because he loved you, Elena says simply, and because he wants to move on. My phone buzzes on the counter. Elena picks it up, checks the screen. It's James again. He keeps trying to contact me, says his wife's making his life hell, that we should talk to HR together, fight the wrongful termination. Are you serious right now? Elena's voice rises. You're still considering anything that man has to say? No, I just what? Need more chaos? Haven't destroyed enough lives? Her words echo in the kitchen. I see myself suddenly as others must see me, the woman who had everything and threw it away for an affair that meant nothing. I need to see David, I say, just once, to explain. Explain what? How you broke his heart? How you violated his trust? I need to tell him I'm sorry. No, Elena says, and her voice is gentler now. You need to tell yourself you're sorry. You need to face what you did without excuses or justifications. I sink into a chair, the settlement papers crumpling in my hands. I don't know how to fix this. You can't fix it. That's the point. Some things, once broken, stay broken. The only thing you can do is learn from it. My phone buzzes again. This time it's a social media notification. David's changed his relationship status to in a relationship. The comments are already pouring in, congratulating him. I think about him planning that surprise weekend while I was betraying him. About him checking on me even now, making sure I'm okay while he moves on with his life. I really messed up, I whisper. Elena sits beside me. Yeah, you did, but you can't change that now. All you can do is decide who you're going to be going forward. I look down at the settlement papers, at David's signature on the last page. His handwriting is as neat and precise as ever. I'll sign them, I say. He deserves to be free of this. Of me. Elena squeezes my hand. That's the first smart decision you've made in a long time. 6 months later, I'm living in a different city, working a job that pays half what I used to make. My apartment is small, but it's mine. On my desk sits a framed quote Elena gave me. Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. I haven't spoken to James since the day I signed David's settlement papers. Last I heard, he and his wife are in counseling. Sometimes I get LinkedIn notifications about him, but I delete them without looking. David's doing well, better than well. I know this not because I check his social media. Elena changed all my passwords and made me promise to stop, but because mutual friends can't help sharing the gossip. He's engaged to Rebecca, his college ex. They reconnected at a tech conference 3 months after our divorce was finalized. The photos from his engagement party showed up on my Facebook feed, despite my best efforts to avoid them. He's smiling in a way I haven't seen in years. Rebecca looks at him the way I should have, like he's someone to be treasured, not taken for granted. I deleted Facebook after that. Elena visits sometimes. She's the only one who stuck by me, though she never sugarcoats the truth. David and Rebecca bought a house, she tells me over coffee. That modern place on Cedar Street you always said was too expensive. I manage a small smile. Good for them. She studies my face. You mean that now, don't you? I do. And I'm surprised to find it's true. He deserves to be happy. And what about you? Are you happy? I stir my coffee, considering. I'm getting there. The therapy's helping. And the dating apps? Deleted them. I need to fix myself before I can be with anyone else. She nods approvingly. Now that sounds like growth. Later that night, alone in my apartment, I find the old bracelet David gave me for our last anniversary. I'd kept it, hidden in a drawer, even though wearing it felt wrong now. I pack it carefully in a small box, along with a short note. You were the best thing in my life, and I was too blind to see it. Be happy. You deserve it. I mail it to his new address the next morning. He never responds, but I didn't expect him to. Some chapters need to stay closed. My new job isn't glamorous, but my coworkers are kind. They don't know my history, and I prefer it that way. Yesterday, my boss trusted me to lead a small project. It's not much, but it feels like a step toward rebuilding my professional reputation. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about how differently things could have turned out if I'd made better choices. If I'd appreciated what I had, instead of chasing what I didn't. But Elena's right. You can't change the past. You can only learn from it. I'm learning. The other day, I drove past a Holiday Inn just like the one I stayed in that first night after David found out. I remembered sitting there thinking my life was over. It wasn't over. It was just beginning. The hard way. But maybe that's the only way some of us learn. By losing everything and having to build it back up, brick by brick, better this time. Smarter this time. Honest this time.